So a buddy of mine gave me this little plasma cutter. It's a reboot, and it's a cut 50. And I just turned it on and the display's not working. I'm going to try it anyway and see if it works. I got this plasma cutter opened up. I'm going to try and see if I can figure out why the display isn't working. And like I mentioned before, this was a free one that buddy of mine ordered it on Amazon, and it came in dead on arrival. So I think they gave him a full credit and just told him to throw it away. And they sent him another one, or he bought another one. So he dropped it off here, and after a few days I finally opened it up to see what was wrong, and what it was this wire right here, if you guys can see it or not. It goes into this crimp connector, this little push on. Anyways, it was just hanging out. It wasn't crimped. Well, they missed it when they crimped it. So I just put a new connector on it, plugged her in, hooked everything up, and it worked great. Well, since then we've had the problem with the display. All right, so I only know basic electronics. Okay, so what I usually do is I first give everything a visual. Just look for anything, corroded, burnt, loose, that kind of stuff. Just the simple things. So here's the back side of that display, and everything is joined with ribbon cables and some little jumper cables, and it all comes back through this one right here, back to, I guess we would call this the control board. So that kind of gives me a tip as to why I was having so much trouble trying to make the last cuts I was working on. I have a feeling that it's gone to a default setting, or whatever the last setting. But I don't think, even though the display is dead, I don't think the power adjustment here is doing anything. So I'm pretty sure it was just at a minimal value or some default value, and that's why I was having trouble making the cuts. And honestly, I didn't care whether the display worked or not, as long as it worked. So I'm gonna, there's some dust and some particles in here. I'm gonna blow all that out and give it a good visual and see if I can spot anything. All right, I didn't see anything jumping out at me on the visual inspection. So I've got it plugged into 110 right now. And you can see we've got a power light, some kind of power light on the main control board. So that's a good sign. But here on the front, this LED here, that's power indicator, and we got nothing. So I think that's what I'm going to focus on, is tracing that back. And see if I can get to some sort of a spot here where I can verify if we're getting power to that board. Okay. So I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to let it drain down. You got to be careful. You want to leave these things unplugged for a while before you touch anything, and then I'm going to see if I can trace that out. I'm hoping we might get lucky here. So I pulled the adjustment knob in this little board out very carefully, and let me grab a screwdriver. This plug right here is the main cable that goes back to the control board, and you can see it's slightly skewed. And I don't think I did that when I was taking it apart, so I'm hoping that maybe this is the problem. So, all right, I'm gonna shut the camera off and unhook that and have a look at it. Okay, I think I might be on to something here, guys. I rang out, get in frame here. I rang out this ribbon cable and I got one of the traces is not conducting. So it's either the plug is not making contact or it crimps onto the cable. And the trace that's bad, I figured out it's yeah, it's that one right there, the 5-volt DC one. All right, so I'm going to take this cable apart and see if I can fix it. So it is this ribbon cable. I just pulled it back through the connector a little bit, and just on a whim, I checked it with the ohm meter, and it started showing continuity. So I plugged it in, and look at that. Let's see if I can adjust the output. Oh yeah. All right, so we know what to do. I just have to figure out how to make this a permanent fix. Okay guys, we're giving up on trying to repair this ribbon cable. Even had my neighbor over here helping. So I just ordered another one. It's just a standard electronics cable. It was $3 on eBay. So, all right, so that'll be here in a couple days. Should only be a few seconds for you guys. And hopefully we don't have to give the reboot the boot. All right, some of you may be wondering how I knew to look at this ribbon cable. So the way I came up with this conclusion, when I was looking at this display module, so we got the digital display and the two lights and the potentiometer adjustment, everything connected back to this board here. Okay, and this board, the only connection between it and the main control board and the plasma cutter was that ribbon cable. So then what I did is I wanted to see how it got power. So this is the plug right here. So what I did is I went with underneath, examined the circuit board with a magnifying glass and a good strong light. And what I came up with was those 6 pins. These two were tied together and connected to the main ground surface for that circuit board. This one went off to something by itself. These two on the outside didn't go anywhere. They were just solder points only. They just had a ring on the board just for mechanical attachment. And then this one went off somewhere into the board. So I knew I only had to reference common here with my voltmeter and then check these 2 pins to see what I got. So being very careful, because we got high voltages in here, I powered it up with that cable disconnected, and I checked voltage. First I went to here, to our common ground, and I got nothing. As soon as I went to here, I got 5 volts DC. So okay, that's our power source, and it's 5 volts DC. 5 volts DC. Come on, spit it out. It's a very common control voltage in electronics. So my next step was to wring out that ribbon cable and see if any of these wires had a break. And sure enough, these 5 all had continuity all the way through the cable, but this one did not. So that's how I got to this conclusion. So hopefully that might help somebody. All right, so I got a new cable on order. I'm just going to button this thing up. I'm going to put everything in baggies so I don't lose any parts, and then bring you guys back as soon as the new cable gets here. Our new ribbon cable came in, and here's the company that I got it from on eBay. I looked around on their site. I didn't want to just buy one cable, and if they had some other stuff I could use, you know, I wanted to throw them a bone. I mean, this was $3.50, you know, and I'm sure they made absolutely nothing on it. They probably lost money, but I tried. And I always try to do that when I'm just buying like a small item or something. I try to look around and see if they have anything else they can send at the same time that would be useful, just to help them out a little bit. Okay, so let me get the tripod over here, and we'll put this cable in. All right, I just noticed one of the locks for one of the legs on the tripod is broken, so hopefully you guys don't go sliding backwards here. All right. Okay, so here's our little control board, and it's going to mount. Sure you don't get these wires twisted too badly here.
Let's see. I think that's okay like that. So it's going to sit like that. So one side of the cable.
It's going to come off this way. Let's plug that in.
Can you guys see that okay? Sound goes in there.
I think what I'll do off camera, if everything works, I'm going to put some silicone sealant or something on here so that plug doesn't fall out. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, let's give it a test before we go any farther. Let's move you guys around here a little bit. All right, here we go. Power on. Uh-oh. Ah, there we go. Okay, and let's make sure we're being very careful here not to touch anything inside. And yes, we have adjustment. All right, good. Okay, I'm gonna finish putting this together. I put a couple globs of silicone sealer where these plugs go in, just to kind of help hold them, you know, in case this machine gets banged around, which it probably will. Okay, we've got a rubber washer, goes on the inside. So here's some of the negative things on these low-cost plasma cutters. This one I think runs like 350 bucks. So what you get is everything mechanical, you know, the frame and the way the boards are mounted. Everything's pretty flimsy. There's nothing robust about it. So. And usually what you want to do on electronic components, on anything that's going to be used in the field, is all your larger components, like these capacitors, and I guess that's a transformer. Usually they'll put some type of sealer, silicone or some type of sealer, to anchor those components solid to the board, so you know vibration doesn't break them loose. They do have a good coating on this. I guess that's a toroid choke there. But the one on the other side, no. Yeah, and just everything is just, you know, not made for rough service. So if you were going to carry this thing around in a service truck, I'd give it a couple of weeks before you have problems. But hopefully here in the home shop it'll be okay. I mean, it's just not a heavy-duty unit. We're handheld here again. So I went ahead and replaced this this air line, this little whip hose. This is what it came with. I mean, it was working, but you know, not very good quality. This is a nice soft, it's a 3/8 hose, and of course it's from China. But it is a DeWalt. Made in China. But it's nice and soft. I think it'll be fine. And then our ground clamp. As you can see in there, the the connector braid is burned right in two. So picked up another one. Should be a little better. Okay, let me set this up for a test cut. Got a little sidetracked, guys, but here we go. All right, so I've got it cranked up, not quite all the way, but pretty close. And we got our test subject here, piece of 3/8 mild steel plate. And we got our air pressure at 70 pounds. So this thing's supposed to be able to cut 1/2 inch. So this is 3/8, so it should be able to handle it. Alright, let's try one more. All right, not too bad.